Welcome everyone to today's Women Who Own Their Worth interview series. Today, I am blessed to bring in Brenda Kiss, who I've known for a while, and I've watched her come online and grow her community and really be of great service to her community. I really recommend connecting with Brenda, following Brenda after today's interview. You're going to love her. And she's constantly and consistently providing a lot of value online. And so I would say she's somebody to keep an eye on and stay in touch with for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a blessing, Brandon. I've been really grateful to speak at some of your events and have you on as well. And so I'm going to share a little bit about Brenda. And then we're going to go in today and we're going to talk about, what does it mean for Brenda and her community to, embrace their power and own their worth and, coming from this idea from the goddess within. So Brenda Kiss is a transformative neuro Reiki master, helping you kiss your struggles goodbye to eliminate stress, overwhelm, and anxiety. Allowing one to reconnect with your heart, to live a life of joy and happiness. In turn, guiding you to step out of the struggles into freedom. She is a certified NAP and NLP practitioner and transformative neuroreiki master, combining a deep understanding of the mind, neuroscience, and the power of energy healing to rapidly transform lives. Thank you, Brenda, for being here.
Oh, thank you, Leela. I'm so excited to be here. Our journey together, I think, is close to 2 years now.
Yep, it has been. And it's been so much fun, being a witness of your journey. And I love watching you, add value to community, but then also I love watching you share your life and the joys and the fun and the happiness that you're having in your life. And so I want to ask you, why was it that you chose to talk about the goddess within?
Oh, that could be a really long story or a really short story. So I chose because I believe that every woman has a goddess, a princess, a queen that lives inside of her that has been buried, covered up, talked down to, hidden for some reasons in their lives. And I think more now than ever before, the world needs women to step back into their goddess energy, back into their wholeness, back into their truth of who they truly are. And that little, for me, playful, fun, silly, giddy little girl that was there for so long, but life happens, stuff happens, and all of that got buried. So I'm passionate about helping women reconnect with that part of themselves, because I feel like you'll have a greater impact on society, on our consciousness, on the world as a whole, of our collective consciousness. When we stop hiding who we are, we start to elevate the world, and the world needs elevation right now. I'll say the world gets to have elevation, right? Nobody needs anything, and no one has to do anything.
Yeah, I love that. So this group is, called Women Who Own Their Worth. And a lot of women, including myself over the years, identified my worth with my achievements. And I've learned over the years that my worth has nothing to do with that which I've achieved. And I feel like you're bringing that forward today, that there's this piece of us that's worthy beyond our achievement. So I'm curious, do you see that with the women that you work with, that they've owned their worth through that which they've achieved, or maybe their parenting, anything like that?
Yeah, which is actually a very masculine energy, right? Masculine energy is all about achieving, about doing, about getting things done and happening. And we need that in the world, and we need that part of us too. And at the same time, that if we stay in our masculine energy and we're feminine at the core, we're a goddess at the core, we're a queen at the core, we're going to get burnt out, frustration, overwhelmed, and this sense of unworthiness because we're never going to achieve enough.
Mm.
And I just recently had a conversation with a woman that worked with me, and she retired not this past June, but this June before. So like a year and a half, like a year and a couple months, she retired. And she worked in social work. She was a counselor, and she, did a lot of work with me. And she was going through a moment last week, and she said, I don't have a purpose. I don't have nothing to show up for. She's like, I don't know what my mission is in life. And I said to her, we had did this exercise. She came to a retreat I had, and we had did this exercise where we sat in a vision and energy of who we are, who we're destined to be. And she had like this whole list on this big sheet of paper of all these qualities of who she truly is. And she's like, I don't know what I have to do, and I don't know how what I get to do every day and all that. And I said, well, what's your list say? Because there was not a to-do list. It was like happy, joyful, passionate. I can't remember some of the other things that was on her list. And I said, that's your purpose. That's all you get to do every single day is step into that energy, into that field, and do the things that bring happiness, that bring joy, that bring passion. Because when you're doing that, everything else starts to unfold. It's really quite magical and very scary. I'll say very scary for the woman that has never done that. For the woman that lives by the to-do list, by getting things done, by achieving. When you stop and start to just be in the feelings, be in the energy, and start to surrender, that's a I'll say it's a great place to be, because you're in a major transition, but it's also a very uncomfortable for myself and many of the women that I work with, a very uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah, I love that. You're in the world of personal development, and I'm in the world of personal development. There's a lot of ways to go about developing yourself as a person. But one of the things I've noticed over time is there's a lot of people who are trying to identify their purpose and their mission. And when I hear that, and I was definitely in that space, I've had my astrology done, my human design, my hand reading, scientific hand analysis, my Myers-Briggs, like all of these personality tests to figure out, like, what am I supposed to do on the planet Earth?
True.
And then
laughing because I can relate. I've done all of it too.
And then there was this, I don't even remember when, but there was this point where I recognized my job is to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
My job is to feel good. And as long as I'm feeling good, or feeling in general, but feeling, all the other stuff will work out. My purpose, my mission, the outer stuff, whatever I choose to do along the way is fine, as long as I've been enjoying myself as much as I can. And so yeah, and so I really love where we're headed today in this conversation, because it sounds like this is what you're helping your community with, is bringing joy, bringing that happiness, bringing that feel-good state. So will you share a little bit about how you do that? Because there's a lot of women in this community that are business women, that are highly driven, that are career women, that are moms, and so how do you start making that change from identifying with your achievements to more being state?
I think there's a couple steps. I don't have that all outlined, but I'm going to break it down as best I can here. I feel the first step, is you already alluded to it, is just feeling in general, right? So getting present and begin to feel the feelings which you live in. I lived in a numb state. I numbed my feelings. I had an eating disorder, exercise bulimic, body dysmorphia. So I numbed all of my feelings with food or exercise and other people's problems, believe it or not. That's how I coped with mine. So I didn't have to deal with mine. So I didn't have to feel. And we cannot live in joy, and we cannot live in our goddess state if we are not acknowledging and tapping in to our feelings. And I know you know this, and that you use the body to really help move the feelings. And so one is really getting, I'll say, grounded and start to allow yourself to feel. The second step would be is to look around at what are the things that you want in your life. Like if you were allowed to dream, and some women forget how to do this, but if you were allowed to dream, like go back to when you were a young girl and you believed everything was possible back then, possibly for a good amount of women, not everybody, but just imagine that you could dream. Start thinking about these dreams, start acknowledging these dreams, start to notice these dreams, and then start to hear the stories that you tell yourself about them. Is it possible? Or what are the stories that are keeping you from having these dreams? Because these are the two things you got to work on, their feelings and your thoughts, because that's what creates your reality. So it's acknowledging the feelings, then acknowledging and becoming aware of your thoughts, and then working on transforming the feelings and thoughts. So if I were to look at feelings, I believe all feelings deserve to be honored. I don't believe that we want to bury any feelings. We don't want to disregard any feelings. It's honoring our feelings and letting them go. And there's 3 ways that I work with clients to help move through the emotions because we don't want to stay in low frequency feelings. So like, that's not very fun. So there's 3 ways that I've learned and I implement and I use every single day when I'm having low frequency feelings, which is not every day, but is movement, which I know you're a big fan of, breath, and sound. So like really letting the sound out of the feeling. Women have more feelings than we do words. So there's sometimes we cannot even acknowledge what we're feeling because we don't have words to it. And so it's like using the body and the sound to process, and your breath to process the emotion. And looking at that, then, looking at the thoughts is like, okay, I always challenge thoughts, because thoughts cannot be proven or not proven, right? Beliefs are just lies we tell ourselves. And there's some great lies we can tell ourselves and they become a belief, and then that becomes our reality. Or there's lies that you can't. So I encourage you to write down thoughts that aren't serving you and then challenge it. What if it wasn't true? What if something else was true? Right? And just start to look at, our life is, our reality becomes from the perception we see it through. So if we're challenging these negative thoughts and we start to open up to the idea that there's more out there than what we currently see, which is true, right? We're all on the same planet. We all are human beings, and we all have the same amount of time and resources that we get to live life through. It's the perception, it's the way someone sees something and experience some things and allow it to be. Our perception is easier to change once we start processing the emotions.
Yeah.
So it's tuning into your feelings and your thoughts. And then the next step I would say is looking at forgiveness, or working through forgiveness, through yourself, through others, anybody that or anything that you think of that gives you a charge, meaning creates a negative experience in your life. That means you get to work on forgiveness. Yeah. And if we're holding on to forgiveness, if we're holding on to the hurt, our goddess is covered up. She's literally covered with resentment, anger, frustration. And we cannot let her out unless we free the heart, and we free the heart through forgiveness.
I'm going to take notes. I'm going to go to the video to make sure there's nobody asking any questions.
Okay.
In the group. I love what you said. Go ahead.
And then the last part, so if there was the next step, is really looking at stepping into a practice of meditation, of seeking guidance. So not just meditation, but also a practice that allows you to receive guidance, which can be meditation for some. It could be a lot of different things for people, but really, and visualization, like keeping your eye on where you want to go, regardless of what your current reality is, regardless of if your goddess is covered up or not, just keeping your vision of where you want to go and finding and developing a practice of I'll say prayer meditation.
I mean, that is so good. I'm writing it in the notes. It's the goddess is covered up if you don't forgive.
It's
Right.
so true.
And then I loved when you said women have more feelings than words. I'm going to ask you about that in a second. I'm actually just going to go ask you now. So I love this because I do movement and breathing, but I love sound baths, like where I go and sound, and it's a massively impactful experience for me all the time. But I actually don't use sound in my practice much. But so there might be others who don't as well. Can you give us some ideas or some examples or ways to start utilizing that tool? Because movement we know about, but sound, I haven't interviewed anybody yet who talks about it. Can you share a little bit more?
Yeah, you get to make the sound. So think of a little kid when they're excited. They jump up and down, giddy, right? How often do you see adults doing that when they're excited?
Right.
They don't express their emotion. They don't let it out. So
Yeah.
it could be anything. So like when I'm working with the women in my groups, I'll say, like, what's the sound? What's the feeling that you get of not achieving what you want? Like not stepping into your fullest self. And they don't necessarily know, but they can feel it in their body. And then I said, if that feeling could have a sound, what would it be? So if we just closed our eyes for a moment and went through, just thinking about, take a deep breath in and out. Another deep breath in and out. And as you breathe this breath in, just breathe in something that you want to have in your life, whether it's a, upgrade in your business, a relationship, your health. Exhale. And as you think about this desire, this want, this, I'll say, inspiration from within, when you think about it, just notice any feeling that's holding you back from achieving it. It might come up as a word, it might just be a feeling. And now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to count down from 3 to 1. When I get to 1, you're just going to let out the sounds that is related to this feeling. 1, feeling it. 2, allowing yourself to go there. 3, yeah. And you can open your eyes and you just keep repeating that that's no longer there. And maybe the sound gets bigger, maybe it gets movement with it, maybe it gets softer, maybe it morphs. And then I say, and then we can do this one. So close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and just imagine as you breathe in, whatever that rocket of desire was, whatever that inspiration is, you achieved. You're there. You're in that space of whatever it is that you want. Just take that on for a moment. Just allow yourself to be there in this moment right now. You can imagine what it's like to be there. You can imagine what somebody else is like to be there, but give yourself permission to go there right now, wherever that is for you. And just tap into that feeling, that feeling of already having it, and just allow the sound to come out that represents that feeling. Yes. You can open your eyes, right? So that's what you get to do. So when I'm in no matter what emotion I'm in or wherever I'm at, I do my best to bring that practice in, because here's the thing. We um we can exaggerate the negative states, right? Oh my God, this is terrible. This is horrible. I can't figure it out. Life sucks. It's so blah, right? And then we have something great to happen. And we're like, yeah, this is awesome. And
Mm.
what? Like, how come we can exaggerate the negative, but barely not acknowledge the
Awesome.
greatness that we do every single day?
Oh, I love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Love it.
Yeah. So use your sound, use your body, use your breath, and allow, I think one of the biggest ways to step back into your goddess is to be seen and be heard. So let it out.
Let it out, friends. That is so good. That is so good. I'm going to use sound more often. I do actually, now that we're talking about it, I recognize I actually probably do use sound more than some. My sweetheart, I'll be kind of a goofball, and I can hear his voice in my head going, oh, this girl, I like her. She's a wild one, because I am like, there's no holding this one back. I'm pretty expressive. I actually didn't know how expressive I was until I started doing video years ago, and I saw myself, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's why people start or call me colorful so much, because I was like, there's so much expression, and I didn't realize it. And so I'm definitely going to play with the sound piece more often. There's one more thing I want to ask about that you mentioned before we learn a little bit more. I want everybody to notice how Brenda is the first person I've interviewed who's actually guided me through a process. I have yet. So what I want you to know is that shows your leadership, Brenda. I just want to point that out to everyone listening now, that you're a true leader, because the fact that you were willing to pause and guide me through my own process, it was beautiful. I've interviewed hundreds over the years.
Wow.
And I've never had somebody actually tell me to do it. I loved it. It was so fun. I was like, yes, queen, yes. So that was beautiful. Yeah, there's one thing you said that I want to bring forward that some women may not have thought about before. But you mentioned that you numbed by focusing on other people's problems. Can you mention that? I just thought of that song, You Down with OPP? No, yeah, you know me. I'm like, no, not me, but like OPP, other people's problems. So I see that actually a lot with women. They'll be so focused on all these problems, and they got, they could, I think as Jordan Peterson says, like, go clean your room, but there's your own thing to deal with, but there's this kind of addiction almost to drama and other people's problems. So will you share a little bit about that before we learn a little bit more about how people can stay in touch with you? This other people's problems thing. Yeah.
I think that it happens more often than we realize. And, it comes, my experience is a very codependent mentality. You deal with other people's problems so that you feel better. And then you're constantly wanting to support and be there. And I love people. I support people for a living. I would do it I do it all the time, right? So I don't, but it's the come from that you get to tune into. Is it a distraction? And it reminds me of I'll say, a relationship I had with my best friend. And I said, it was like I was in a relationship while married with another woman that didn't have sex involved, right? So I've been married, but like we did everything together. We went everywhere together. We did everything but have sex together, right? Like, so it was like a very codependent relationship. Like, I didn't even go to the grocery store without her. And what kept me so involved is because she would share her problems with me, and I would be the solution to her problems. And then it was like this addictive personality. And so I feel a lot of women, especially, and I'm sure there's men out there too. I don't want to single out just women, but my experience has been with women. We actually get involved in other people's lives so we don't have to deal with our own. And it's a great coping mechanism because you think you're helping others
Mm.
and you think you're supporting others. But the truth is, if you are hurting and you are staying so busy by helping other people, you one, the comfort through the energy behind that, you bring that into the help, right? So if I'm hurting, right, and I'm helping someone, I'm bringing that energy into whatever I'm helping them with. So it's not pure. The pureness might be of wanting to really help, but it still has an energy of neediness. And so think about if you paused and you started to take care of you, and you started to feel whole, and you started to feel complete, and you started to feel like the goddess that you are, and then you go help. What's the impact? What's the ripple effect of that?
Mm.
And so I often see people using OPP, other people's problems, to cope with life, to feel better. And it's never ending. And if the other person doesn't receive or doesn't show up, then the world comes to an end, right? So when my friend moved across the country and I couldn't spend any time with her, that's actually when my life changed. I hit rock bottom in my life. As I was like, how am I going to live? My security blanket just got taken away. Like, I knew what to do every day. I could take care of her. But then
Yeah.
she moved across the country and it was just like,
That's
so
beautiful. Really appreciate the share. I just had some pretty aha. I have in the last 3 years, I want to be mindful of my language. I'm no longer close friends with 2 women, because I shared with them on multiple occasions until there was a, kind of a breaking point where that I was not going to show up in our friendship and just listen to their problems. Mostly what it was is each one of them would complain about their partner, their boyfriend. One was a boyfriend, one was a husband. And it was basically, I was like, I'm not going to be the receiver of you having constant conversation with me about the problems you have in your marriage or the problems you have in your relationship. That's not how I want to spend my time with you. There's, another way to do it. And I would repeat it. And I finally got to the point I said, I'm not doing this anymore.
right.
I'm not going to be the person that listens to your problems about your situation. I understand you have some problems, but I'm not that. I felt like I didn't want to be a dumping ground.
Yeah.
And so it was challenging for me because these 2 different experiences, I had so much fun with these women. And then as our relationship, it went, deeper over time, that the fun went away. And it was just this using me because I'm like you do, I help people for a living. I have great ideas because I'm working on myself and I've been helping people for years. And so they felt this comfort level with me and trust. So then they would come to me with their problems, but I wanted to have fun. And I didn't want to show up and talk about problems all the time. It just wasn't my thing.
Right.
And so I hear you the way you're sharing it now in terms of, I have a different perspective. It's like, well, they were utilizing that as a numbing agent of sorts, to wanting, instead of dealing with the actual challenge. Yeah, it makes sense. Instead of dealing with the challenge themselves, they'd rather just talk about it with somebody else and that kind of thing. So I appreciate that. And I would guess that anybody listening now or later is going to resonate with that on some level, and hopefully learn new ways of being. So I'm curious, how is it that you work with women? How is it, you help them embrace this inner goddess and, own their power, embrace their worth, all that. Can you share a little bit more about what you offer and how people can stay in touch with you?
Yeah, so I do take women through a 6-month transformational journey in the sense of really helping them heal, grow, and expand, and then create something magnificent in their life, whatever that is to them. It could be something, it's irrelative. It's just magnificent for the woman that's creating it. to really own their power, their voice, and who they are. But I do have a beautiful community in here in Facebook called Kiss Your Struggles Goodbye. And like you said, Leela, I share a lot of great posts and a lot of free things to be involved in and ways to be supported. So that'd be a great way to stay in touch.
Cool. So we will put your links. You have I'll put your social media links and any sort of, if anybody wants to have a conversation with you, learn more about your community, any of that, we'll put all your links below.
Awesome.
And then I am wondering, I have this question that keeps coming up, so I'm going to ask it. What is a neuro Reiki master?
So over the years, I'll say when I go back, when my security blanket got pulled away, right? I was searching, actually prior to that, I was searching and searching for help. So I was sexually molested as a child and date raped twice as a young adult. And I was looking for help. So I went to churches, I went to therapy, I went to hypnotherapists, I went to friends, right? Like yourself, like you were just saying, like, please help me, but not really, because I want to complain. So I went to friends, I went to books, and I could not find for myself, none of those techniques really gave me what I was looking for. It was the combination of working with a neuro master, someone that was a master in neuroscience, so that person's spirituality, someone that was really a master in spirituality, someone that was a master in energy healing, and really understanding the physical body, which I had that knowledge myself, but it was putting those practices together. So after I went through my transformation, I started to look at all the things that I am certified in. And I was like, this is the healing modality. It's not just Reiki. It's not just neuroscience. It's not just energy healing. It's not just spirituality. It's the combination of all of it. And that's where, so I'm certified in neuroassociative programming, neurolinguistic programming, molecular light therapy, Reiki master, integrative energy therapy. My degree, I have education in cognitive therapy, human behavior, nutrition, exercise. Like, so it's a healing technique that I have created.
Oh, I love it. So you're covering, I want everybody to hear this. She's covering mind, body, and the energy spirit component.
Yes, absolutely. Because that's where it's all at.
I did not know this about you, darling. I'm so happy to learn. All right, one more question before we wrap up. I ask everyone this. If you were to say one thing to all women who are working on owning their worth right now, what would that one thing be?
I would say life is now. It's not tomorrow. It's not the next day. It's not yesterday. It's right now. Take a risk or a step outside of your comfort zone today, whatever that looks like, because there's beauty and freedom. Right now, if you're staying in your comfort zone, you're trapped in the world that you've already created. So life is happening right now. Step outside that comfort zone because there is greatness available for you.
Yeah, so good. Life is happening right now, friends. All right, I'm going to live some more. I'm going to live some extra bold life today, I think. Very inspired by you, Brenda. I appreciate your presence here. Thank you so much. And with a name like Brenda Kiss, she's got to be amazing.
I tell my husband, see, this is why I married you, so I could be a kiss.
It's so good. All right. We'll put the links for how to stay in touch with Brenda down below. And remember, everyone, this is your year. Step up and own your worth. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.